The global markets and crude markets, commodity markets have performed over the weekend. But going forward now, it's a bit weak ahead for global markets as central banks take the spotlight. The U.S. Federal Reserve meets tomorrow with investors fully pricing in a September rate cut, which will be first in this cycle. The Bank of England, on the other hand, is set to hold steady at that 4% mark, while the Bank of Japan, that is expected to keep rates unchanged. My colleague Snehi is now joining us to tell us what to expect from these global banks. Snehi, over to you.
Well, yes, busy week for global markets as well as global central banks, because you have three central bank rate decisions to look forward to in the week to come. Let's start by talking about the first one, September 17th. From the US, you have the US Federal Reserve, the FOMC meet outcome. That will be out on the 17th. The two-day meeting will start on the 16th and conclude on the 17th. The current range is between 4.25 to 4.5. There's been increasing pressure coming in from Donald Trump on Jerome Powell to cut rates, and he's at the end of his term, so let's see what happens. But the big expectation is that we could see the first 25 bips rate cut of CY25. 105 out of 107 economists that Reuters polled, they expect to see a cut of 25 bips. The remaining two, they expect to see a 50 bips cut, but all of them are pricing in at least a cut of 25 bips. The markets are fully priced in a September cut and are expecting total of 3 reductions this year. So all eyes are going to be on the commentary coming in from the chair, Jerome Powell. Moving to Bank of England then, September 18, you'll have UK Central Bank's decision expected to hold rates steady at that 4% mark where it is right now. The Reuters poll of economists says that majority of economists expect to see one cut next quarter and one again early next year. So that's for Bank of England. And lastly, on 19 September, Japan will be in focus because the Bank of Japan will be out with its outcome. They're expected to keep interest rates steady right now at 0.5%. Key to watch for their government, the governor's speech over there is going to be how soon the Bank of Japan could resume their rate hikes, which was paused since January on the back of the tariff pressure, and to calibrate around that. And Reuters poll over there says that the majority of economists they poll, they expect another 25 bips hike by the year end. So expecting a cut in the US, steady in the UK, and steady in the in Japan for now, but a hike expected early next year. So that's a roundup on all the central bank action to watch out for this week.
Right, a lot of central bank action that will be on the radar for us, and especially the Wednesday FOMC meet that we are watching out for in the short term. But moving on then, US President Donald Trump is turning up the heat on NATO allies, saying he is ready to impose major sanctions on Russia if all the NATO members do the same and halt oil purchases from Moscow. In a letter shared on Truth Social, Trump also urged allies to slap 50% to 100% tariffs on China, claiming such a move would break Beijing's grip over Russia. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent backed the call, saying only a unified effort can stop Putin's war machine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky echoed that plea, urging global leaders to stop looking for excuses and cut their reliance on Russian oil.
Moving on, US and Chinese officials met in Madrid on Sunday for fresh talks on trade frictions, the TikTok divestiture deadline, and Washington's push for allies to impose tariffs on China over Russian oil. Now, it's the fourth such meeting in many months aimed at preventing trade ties from collapsing under Trump's tariffs, which remain at 55% until November 10th. Now, while major breakthroughs are unlikely, negotiations may extend TikTok's September 17th deadline to sell its U.S. operations or face a shutdown. Talks are set to resume today.
All right, let's move on to the top headlines from across the globe then. China is steering for modest but steady growth in its auto sector. A new 2-year work plan unveiled by 8 ministers targeting vehicle sales of 32.3 million units in 2025, up 3% from this year. The bigger push is in new energy vehicles, with sales expected to climb 20%. Authorities are also eyeing stronger exports. The US and the UK are set to unveil landmark agreements on technology and civil nuclear energy during Trump's second state visit to Britain this week. Prime Minister Keir Starmer will host Trump for talks, where the two leaders are expected to finalize tariff deals on steel and aluminium and strengthen defense and energy ties. The tech pact backed by US giants Nvidia and OpenAI will boost cooperation in areas like AI and quantum computing.
That's right. Moving on to the next global story that we are tracking. Now, China is steering for modest but steady growth in the auto sector. It is set to, it's a new 2-year work plan unveiled by 8 ministries, targets vehicle sales of 32.3 million units in 2025. That's up 3% from this year. Now, the bigger push is in new energy vehicles, with sales expected to climb 20%. Now, authorities are also eyeing stronger exports. Moving on, now the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Israel as the IDF intensifies airstrikes in Gaza City, flattening dozens of residential buildings and forcing mass evacuations ahead of a possible ground offensive. Now, Rubio has acknowledged Trump was not happy with Israel's strike on Hamas members in Qatar, which is a key U.S. ally, but stressed that U.S.-Israeli ties remain strong.
And tens of thousands took the streets of Ankara on Sunday, rallying against the court case that could unseat the leader of Turkey's main opposition party. The case challenges the validity of the party's 2023 Congress, with a ruling due today that could reshape the opposition and unsettle markets. Protesters chanted for President Erdogan's resignations, accusing the government of eroding democratic norms. Anime has stormed the U.S. box office. Demon Slayer's Infinity Castle opened to a record-breaking $70 million weekend, the biggest ever North American debut for an anime film. Distributed by the Crunchyroll, the movie grossed $33 million on Friday alone, surpassing the 1999 hit Pokemon.
All right, moving on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has begun his